Hello everyone, this is Guyan with Genome Studios, and I'm here to do another intensive C++ tutorial. If you've been following along, we learned what a gem was, and this time we're going to learn about making a component and reflecting it so that the editor actually shows that you made it. So the very first thing that's probably we should do is make a component actually. Unfortunately, there's no interface right now to create a component similar to the create new gem. So we have to use commands. I have one nicely made right here, and let's dissect it. So this is one that needs to be run at your editor source code, and it goes into the scripts folder, runs O3DE.bat. It calls the command create from template, and then we're putting in information about creating a component from template. So right now we're setting the directory, like where it's going to arrive, to our gem and to its code folder. So we can look at this intensive gem into this code folder where we have all of our just common source code structure. We have the component name, which is of course going to be the component name. Default component is the actual template that we're going to be using, and I'll be showing you. And then R means replace everywhere that this says gem name with the name of our intensive gem. Now, this is for naming and for namespaces. So if we look here in what's already here, all of the code starts with a namespace, intensive's gem, capital I, capital G, because of the way that we configured the info in the gem. Let's see, intensive gem. So we're just using the gem's name, and that means that all of these used to be, before we made them, gem name like this. Yeah, so we're replacing that so that we can use things. We have this command. In the past, I used a little method here in a thing that would get me to the directory, and then I would set this up. Well, intensives component, default, and all the rest is here. You control copy. Because we know we're in our editor source code, we can just shift insert and run it, and it's going to do the job. But if you followed my setup tutorial, I also have a nice little script to do. So I'm going to run create new component, and what it does is it navigates to my editor folder and starts asking me the same questions that are here. So what is your gems folder? Well, that's all this. So I'm going to click enter because it's default. And now what gem are you making? So by default, I'm doing GSPlay core, but for us, we're doing this lowercase folder. So intensives gem, whatever the folder name is. And then it's gonna automatically just point to your code folder, because that's the only reason, that's all you'd ever really want to do, unless you fundamentally change all of your code structure. We're gonna enter that. What's the component? I'm gonna reveal a little bit of what we're gonna do, which is TimeoutDoSomething component. You don't need to write component at the end. It's going to put component at the end, so my component will be my component. You don't need that. TimeoutDoSomething. That's what we're going to be making. Gem name GSPlay core. We don't want that. We want intensive, right? Gem. And now my script. Default component. It's normal. And now my script says, okay, we're going to be making the component in your intensive gem code folder. The component is going to be called TimeoutDoSomething, and then make sure the namespace is correct, and we're doing default. So then we click enter. It outputs a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter and closes. And you may have seen to the side of my screen, stuff popped around. And that's because if we go into our source, we have TimeoutDoSomething CPP, TimeoutDoSomething H, and we have in the include folder TimeoutDoSomething interface. So we can kind of begin to do stuff with this. We can go into the API and copy paste and change this to do something interface. I'm going to just rename copy and paste that in. Oops. TimeoutDoSomething interface, because as we learned with the gems earlier, that means it's going to end up in the API files. And we may have to do some stuff in a little bit, but we're going to leave it like this. And then we're going to go into our private files. And you can see, CPPH is usually here. It's just in our source folder. So I'm going to just copy these guys up here. Usually I like to just double space so that you can tell that that stuff was automated and this stuff is ours. You can do the same thing here like this. Now we know. Oh, and I'm going to just double click here. No, we don't want interface. We want TimeoutDoSomething component. Sorry, don't copy paste. Take it from that. So now what we're saying is we've got an interface API for our TimeoutDoSomething. We've got the actual functionality of our TimeoutDoSomething. And they're going to appear in our CMake targeting, in the API, and in our private code base, actually up here. API, private code base, that's because we put the API in API files and the rest in the private files. API, private. Good, so we have a definite concrete path here. But then, like I was saying, is quite important in the gems tutorial. We want to go to the intensives gem by name module interface, and we have ourselves here. And now we can go include, and we're going to do a bracket, and we're going to say intensives gem, and we can see the folder here, and we'll go into it, and we go slash, and we can even see it. TimeoutDoSomething interface H, and that's because it's in our includes folder. And I'm going to reiterate the reason for that we don't have to write includes and stuff is because our private object static already includes it. So the rest of the thing starts from here in intensive gem, etc., etc. So we've now included it here, but what are we going to do with it? I'm going to copy paste our gem system component module entry. Again, I like to just do a space so that I know that this was system and this is us. We're going to leave the component. We're going to go TimeoutDoSomething component. Oh, do something interface. Really quickly, I want to. No, I lied. We want to go TimeoutDoSomething component H, and we want to put it in whatever. And the reason for this is because we're also including the source folder. And as we were saying, our DoSomething component is literally in the same source directory as the gem module interface itself. So by doing the quotations, we're saying do this directory relative to where this file is, whereas these corner brackets are saying relative to the shortcuts we made here, include and source, and there's other ones you can do. Relative to those shortcuts, include things. So we see here, this include says, okay, we're starting at source, and then we're stepping into clients, and then we're doing the gem system component. You can verify that by going into clients, and we have gem system component here. So module, sorry for psyching you out. We're going to do the quotations for this one. And it's the component, not the interface. I lied. And you can verify TimeoutDoSomething component, create descriptor. So with this, if I'm not mistaken, we now have our DoSomething component, TimeoutDoSomething component, connected to the O3DE engine system. We have said that the programming is here as part of these build packages. We've separated them into their two separate things. Excuse me. We've added it to the module, which is, if you haven't followed the GEM tutorial, a very governing, important reference. And what it does is when the editor launches, it tells the editor everything about the gem. So descriptions about the TimeoutDoSomething component, so that when the editor runs, it can use this icon and use this name, and this is the tooltip and all that stuff. You need to be able to create the descriptor that goes into the module. This right here is very much part of reflection. And the concept, and you'll hear it all over the world with O3DE, is reflection is C++ code shining into the editor and the scripts and script graph and Lua and the stuff in the editor. It's the way that the engineers give this underlying code to the designers. Very, very powerful, really, really cool, and lots of automation behind it, but you need to follow the tricks. So we can finally go into our component. I can just click on this and click F12, and we're here in the header. TimeoutDoSomething component header. Actually, just for clarity's sake, I'm going to close this guy and close this guy. We don't need the module. We probably don't even need that. I'm going to do this, and we're going to open up the CPP. So here we are. If you've done any C++ programming for Unreal Engine or anything that uses C++, you'll understand this pattern. The header is the stuff that you always kind of point to, and then the CPP is the secret guts body that happens when you point to the header. These are a bunch of instructions that come from the default component. You can read them. I'm familiar enough with it now, so I'm just going to clear this. I'm going to clear that. I'm going to clear this. I'm going to clear these, and I'm clustering them on purpose. I don't need to get into that quite yet, but we're going to find at the end of this, this is our component. So the attributes of a component here, finally, are a handful of things. We're including, and AZ core, you can see, behaves very similar to intensives gem, which means this folder intensives gem. There's an AZ core equivalent. But anyways, I digress. We're including the component.h header. And so what's happening is that right here where this line is, it copy pastes the component information. And what this allows is so that our component called TimeoutDoSomething inherits from the component class. And this is what gives us all of the default functionality, so that when we ask for the descriptors and all those things, it just already knows how to do that. And then as you're seeing, there's the reflect, and that comes from using the default component. All of this comes from the default component, but the reflect is a big one, and then the rest is just the overview of the component. We have one other one, which is our TimeoutDoSomething interface. This is how they kind of expect you to follow the interface private shared format that the gem defaults to, and now you can see the component defaults to. And what this is giving us is this additional file. And I'm going to put this a little away. And it's in our namespace, and it's something else. It's called requests, and it's following the component bus. Now, if you know the editor, buses are shorthand for e-buses, which is shorthand for event buses. And the entire editor itself runs on events. The best thing you can do, eBus, the best thing you can do is use events for so many things, and we're going to get into that in a later tutorial. But basically, the format of a common component is you have an event setup that represents your represents talking to your component, and then you have your component's details. What that means here is that we're saying that our component is also, along with following the component, inheriting from that event bus. Now, the thing that this does is once we add details here, they're going to call event called this is an event, and you need to have a function in here called this is an event, or else it's not going to happen. So by doing this, we're saying that we're going to have do this event somewhere in here, so that when this event comes in, we're going to receive it. Now, this is a lot about events. Let's move on. Here we declare our component. This is something that just is part of the engine and stuff and C++. We're making sure the rest of the system knows that this thing exists, and it's called TimeoutDoSomething component. These provided services are just the nice little ways that you can say, for example, I need to have a camera with me, or I can't be with any other copy of myself, so that you can only have one. There's many, many little things about it. And then we've got activate and deactivate. Just the nice common, you start the component, you stop the component, and then you can start, stop, whenever you want. So let's go into the guts and see how that represents. We have the actual, I guess, implication implied that is the equivalent of our declaration. So as far as I can kind of tell, it just binds these two files together. And again, it points to the same one. We're seeing here now that we're connected to our header. So all of this becomes all of this here on top. It's following a bunch of AZ things. These just have to do with running the component. This is a nice little identifier that makes this unique to the entire engine. And now let's get into the guts. We have activate, and the only thing we have by default is, remember that request bus, we're just connecting and starting to listen to it. We have deactivate, and the only thing we have right now is okay, we're going to stop listening to these events. Nice and straightforward. Then we have reflect, and we're going to get into this later, but these are all the little juicy things. Category, icon, appears in menu, settings that we use from the module here, we get from here, and feed into the editor so that we know what category it is in and what menu it's in. And we provide this kind of service, and we won't want this kind of service as a duplicate. We're going to get into that a little later. So now we have a component called do something. So we certainly want to make it do something. So let's set up a few functions, methods. We're going to go void, and we're going to go start timeout, and we're going to just leave it at that. And then we're going to go end timeout, and then we're good with that. And then under protected, we're going to add float. Float is a number with decimal places called timeout time. here. And you should see that it changes color, which means that this is kind of complete and things are making sense. If you see here, there's the 3 dotted lines. They're saying that you don't have an equivalent in the actual guts where it matters. So that's going to change real quick. I like to just copy these. I'm going to save. And then after activate and deactivate, before reflect, we're going to just get into what we're doing, which is we're going to paste these. Shift tab to change its nesting. And these are a little different that we're seeing. Because in here, we're saying like we for a fact are TimeoutDoSomething component. Everything in here is saying, okay, this is the component. But out here, we just have the namespace. We're saying something in this folder, this file has to do with the timeout component. And so the way that we actually say this is the functionality that represents the component, we get into saying this is start timeout from class TimeoutDoSomething component, end timeout is from class TimeoutDoSomething component, and we can get rid of these end brackets, and we can go enter open curly brackets, enter to make that go, click down, click enter to space it. We can do that again, enter curly brackets, enter to thing. We've got a bunch of space. So what are we going to do? We're going to start timeout, which means we're going to have to start going over time and timing out when the thing runs out. I forgot here. We're going to just jump back here, timeout time, and we're going to go, I always like to go timeout tank. So we can make, for the timeout time, let's say 5 seconds, 5.0f. So we're just setting the default, but we'll see very soon something else. So in start timeout, we can start by going timeout tank, and because we're inside the TimeoutDoSomething component function, when we type timeout tank, it's pointing to what we said on the header. And then we're saying equals, and we're going to go timeout time. And so now we're saying fill the tank with our time, and now we're going to start running out of time from where we start. But this component, unlike some other engines, doesn't actually require you to have a tick, an update function. Because of events, you can just respond to the event when it happens and just otherwise just sit there and twiddle your thumbs. So we have to actually do our very first do something with the editor, with the source code. So we can always go Control T, get rid of this hash and go tick, and we'll see TickBus.h. And if we go to that, the reason why we're saying TickBus is because, like I said, almost everything you want to do, if there's events to do it, you want to do that. So rather than tick component, etc., we want the event bus. So here we have the TickBus, and we can see here, it's in the directory of our source code. It's in AZ core component TickBus-H. So because we need to declare, the functionality of the header, we have to go here and we're going to copy paste because we have AZ core component, and we're going to go in here and go TickBus.h. And we can make sure that that works by going there and clicking F. Oh, yeah, sometimes it won't jump. But we can double check. You can see here AZ core component TickBus-H, and then the whole directory before it, but that's fine because, again, this AZ core is already implied. So all we're saying is in the AZ core component TickBus, we're going to take this information and do something with it. So we're going to do something with it. When we go to the TickBus, we're going to look down, and we're going to look for OnTick. So OnTick is what we're here for, but when it comes to inheriting events and event buses, if it says equals 0, you have to use it. You have to put it in your class. Other ones, like getTickOrder, have curly brackets and some sort of default to it. So if we go to our timeout and say, well, you're using TickBus, so what's your tick order? If you don't have anything there, it just does this default because it's already made. But if you try and compile without OnTick, it's going to absolutely blow up. So what are we doing? What are we doing? Just like our request bus, we can go in and we can click comma public. I think it's AZ core comma TickBus comma handler. You just kind of have to always do the handler. TickBus. Oh, it might be AZ. Well, here, the nice thing is we already had something using the TickBus. I think it was the system component. It was using OnTick, and we'll see it's TickBus here, and it's using AZ, a nice shorthand TickBus. So we can go here, and we were wrong. We can go AZ TickBus. It's going to tell you the problems, and you're going to have to try and solve them when you're compiling. Definitely use outside sources, debug, Discord, generative AI, like whatever you can to make sense of these things. It really, really helps to get you started. And you start to remember these kinds of things as you become, familiar with it all. So now that we have TickBus, we have to have OnTick. We have to have it. So I'm just going to come here. We can even, just for funsies, copy the nice formatting they have and just put it somewhere. We're going to put it ahead because we're dependent on this, and then we're going to do our fun things. So again, it's got the little dotty squigglies saying that we don't have it in actually existence. But because we're inheriting this, we have to override. So we're saying, don't do TickBus tick, do us tick. Good. So we have this set up. Save. We're going to come out here. We're going to come out here. And just for the sake of it, we're going to go void TimeoutDoSomething component ... copy, because we're going to do the tick in between start and stop. I like to just come here and you just drag OnTick all the way to the end of the bracket. Oh, I'm just going to close this. Keeps confusing me. OnTick, delta time, and then we squigglies, enter, and we have OnTick. So I think we've got what we need to start and find out if we've timed out. So how do we do this? And it's with buses. So just how we come here and we say, okay, this bus, we're gonna connect. This just says this is me connecting. We're gonna go OnTick connect, but I wanna just quickly verify. I don't think it's using, yeah, it's not using anything about it. Oh, here we go. Tick happens all over. It happens everywhere. So in this particular instance, we're starting our TimeoutDoSomething component, and it doesn't have anything going on. We've got register for this. And if we go like this, the reason why we don't have to put getEntityID is because we're saying, TickBus, you master god of the world. When you say tick, I'll tick. So we don't have to put anything. But if we put TickBus here, the moment the component activates, it's just going to be running tick, 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 tick. And in other engines, that's literally what's happening. Even if this is empty, it has to say, okay, component, do your tick. And then it says, I don't have anything. And that took, what, I guess 2 steps, or 1 step, 2 steps. And that's an optimization nightmare. So, because we have the option of when we're going to start watching OnTick, we can take this out of the activate and put it in our timeout. We're going to start timing the timeout. So here we have it. We can even comment it out. Set time, set tank to time, start watching tick. So now, if we call start timeout, we can definitely know that our tank is going to get filled. We're going to start watching OnTick, and so here we are on OnTick. I'm not sure how well you know game programming, but I'll just get at it. We can go timeout tank minus equals, so it's saying minus from the timeout tank delta time. So that's the time that happened from last tick to this tick, and it's in microseconds and stuff. So our tank is saying fill up to 5 seconds, but it's going to go minus this is going to be like 4.9863, kind of thing. And it's going to just keep going, blah, 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 really fast per tick. So we've got that. Now we're running out of time here. Well, we have to now find out, like, when are we going to end timeout? So we're going to do some nice conditional programming. So we're going to go if timeout tank is less than or equals to 0. We're going to do something. And what we're going to do is end timeout. So the reason why we don't have to do these kinds of extra things is because, again, we're inside a method that's inside the class already. So this is already implying that this is that it's ahead of it. So what do we have so far? We're starting the timeout. We're letting time pass. When time is finished, we're going to end timeout, and we're gonna, oh geez, I'm really bad at this one. I'm gonna open my code, just play, and I'm gonna just go to a random component I know, GS in the manager component. Oh my lord, I'm so sorry, it's so sloppy of me. AZ print. So we're gonna print log. This is always what you learn when you do hello world. We're going to say, world, you've run out of time. So we can go TimeoutDoSomething. And this is just the name of what's printing. So, I mean, you can type anything, but it's usually good to say TimeoutDoSomething or like something related to your thing. And we're going to say, ran out of time. Nice and simple. But hey, OnTick is still firing. It's still going nutso because we haven't done anything to stop it. So now that we're going to end timeout, we know we've run out of time. We've done the thing that we want to do. So now we can go from here and go bus, and I stop at the C and I go disconnect. Now we have a nice contained thing. We can start our timeout. It sets up, it starts timing out. We're doing the timeout logic. We find out when it's time to end, we end, and we shut down the tick. Our component will still be there. It'll still be doing its thing, waiting for messages, but we have some logic here. So we're even using it inside of itself. But this is C++ programming, and we have done nothing to make it appear in the editor. So we're gonna finally do some reflection. So we have reflect here, and we have some stuff we want to do. So first of all, we want to let people change the timeout time. So we're going to go into the very first thing right under version. We're going to click enter, and we're going to make our own little arrow, and we're going to go field. So this is a variable field. We're going to put this in. I think we name it, so it's timeout time. And then we're going to comma, and we're going to make a reference to it. So we're going, looky here, we've got timeout time. So here we're saying this variable exists to the system, and down here we're going to make it visible in the editor. I'm really bad at this stuff again. I'm just gonna go to, it's got to be something. I'm so bad with this one command, it's hard to remember it. Reflect, data element, geez. This one always gets me. I'm gonna just control copy. We're gonna go here, click enter, data element, it makes it a line, we don't have to do that. So now we're saying here, when we use this in the editor, this is what's gonna happen. We're gonna put it in the component category. We're gonna call it intensives. I don't have an icon, so we're gonna just leave that there. This is default. It's gonna be in the game component menu, so we're good. So now we're saying, as part of our component, we've got data available. It's gonna just use the default way that we're gonna show it on the UI, and this is what it is. So now we go back to this reference, we gotta do it again. Component, so that when the world looks at it, it knows that it's from this timeout time. And now we're gonna do all the display info. So we can go timeout space time, and then time until we do something, because that's really the important part for us. So I'm going to click save here, and this one's a hard one. We have, oh man, I think we might have to just do event tutorials here too. Let me look at the source code here. O3DE reflect method, reflection contexts, edit, is it behavior context? Methods. Let's see if this works. It might not. We have method here. I remember why we don't do methods. Okay, nope. We're gonna do events as part of this tutorial. The title is gonna change. You're gonna see the title as it is, but now we can get into events. So the reason why I don't want to do this method thing here is because of how this all works. Gems are meant to just be closed off inside to the outside. Everything inside the gem is supposed to just do its thing. And events are how we send like a little like, hey, connect to the time bus, to TickBus, across those lines so that we can hear each other without putting, you know, a fiber optic cable between us, because the moment you break that cable, everything falls apart. So what we're actually going to do is we have the StartTimeout method, and this sets us up and it starts the process. So we can go into our do something interface and actually make an event. So the do something requests, I'm pretty sure by default you have to just, we see it here. You have to tell the events, hey, I'm listening to you. And the reason why is because then when I go, hey, start timeout from across the way, we're saying, hey, you entity ID. Yeah, you. You start timeout, not anyone. You do it. So we're going to go here and we're going to say virtual because that allows you to inherit from it. And we're going to go void because it doesn't return anything. And we're going to call it exactly the thing. Start timeout. We're going to go start timeout and we're going to do this. And we're going to go equals 0. So when we say this, we're saying the person who's going to listen to this events has to have start timeout. It has to have it. So if we don't have this start timeout, it's going to fail. We have everything else automatically set up for us. We're already inheriting from the interface here. But this start timeout isn't local anymore. Similar to this whole thing, we can even do it here and here. We can call this do something interface. Do something interface. Whatever you want to call it. And because we've made it virtual here, we are now overriding. So now this isn't our local, well, it is our local version of it, but we're not the creators of it. The reason why this is just working without us having to do anything is because we're already inheriting from it. So whether or not we like it, we've got start timeout now. So we've done some events now. We're doing some events. We're connecting the events. We've got TickBus events. We've got do something request bus events. How is this going to start working now? Well, when we go down here and we get to our behavior context, this is saying, hey, we now have a class called TimeoutDoSomething component, and it's part of the TimeoutDoSomething component group. It's a class. It exists. But we're going to just stop there. What we can then do is go behavior context. So that's that, and then it's a pointer. So we're saying, let's do something about it. And we're calling it eBus. So we're not declaring a class, we're declaring an eBus. And the eBus is going to be called, we're going to get it from the interface, TimeoutDoSomething request bus, because we're using it. So we're going to go here, copy paste, put it there, do it. We're going to do the curvy brackets. We're going to do this. I'm just going to paste it because that's the name of it. Up here, as I'm talking, we have TimeoutDoSomething component. We can just get rid of that component part because this is the display name. You know, this is part of the editor stuff. And we can say, going to do something after we time out. So now we know. Now your developers know downstream. Okay, getting back. Now with this reflection, we're saying there's a class called TimeoutDoSomething, and there's TimeoutDoSomething events. So I'm going to quickly go back here. We're good here. We can do our category just like our category here. So we're going to go attribute, and it's category, and we're going to just go intensives. And now we can start telling it about our events. So I'm just going to copy this. And so we've got attribute, which is talking about kind of the details. We're saying there's an actual event you can call. We're going to call it start time out. Start timeout. Yes. Start time out. We got to make sure it's the TimeoutDoSomething request bus right here. Actually, yes. So then it's saying, look into the bus, look for its events, and what is it called? So we're going to call start, it's not going to do it, timeout. And if we click F12, boo. We have start timeout. So this should work. And then, okay, you always have to have the little squiggly. They put it next because then if you just copy paste, you can event, and it'll always end. Need to make sure it ends. Good. So let's quickly recap. We have an events interface. We have our component and what it's supposed to look like. We have our functionality of our component. As part of the functionality, it's going to tell the system about it. Here we're saying there's a class called DoSomethingComponent. It has a variable called TimeoutTime, which you're going to have to expect is coming up in other things. We're saying, hey, when you're getting to the editor part where you're going to show us things, there is still a timeout component. It has all these things that makes it nice. And it also has some data that we want to show called TimeoutTime. Just handle it like you normally would. And then we're saying to the scripts, to Lua, to all of our things that run programming logic, hey, there's going to be behavior that may ask for a do something component, or you might be able to use a do something event to yell at your do something components. So within this, we're now reflecting the component. We're reflecting events that you can use. Our events in particular require you to point at the actual thing, while other events can be global, which we'll cover in other tutorials. And we've fully plugged in all of our component into the systems of our gem. So without further ado, we can try and build. We might have an issue, but we'll see if we don't. It's got to rerun because we've now added this new stuff to our gem. So the gem is now a new composition. If you just change the code inside, it won't have to do this, but there's new code. It's got to reset up. After that, we're going to see how many steps it's going to take. When you do a tiny edit, it's 3 or 4. When it's a bit of this, it might be, 5 to 12. Configuring done, a nice really long halt that makes you doubt everything. I know, right? Of course, when you don't have to generate these things again, it doesn't take nearly as long to do this. We have to do 23 things. Got some warnings, stuff like that. That's fine. Oh, here we go. So this is a huge thing, so scary, so overwhelming. What is it? What does it do? Well, just look for the part that actually describes your things, intensive gem, timeout do something. The following warning, aha, I should have known. Our tick has an issue. What is the issue? When it says treated as an error, it's because you've done one little faux pas. In other engines, you don't necessarily need to worry about this, but OnTick has both delta time, which we are using, and time. And we're not using time. So then this just dangles, and that is not good. So you can click backspace, which is totally fine. Or if you want to know what it's called, you can encapsulate it in brackets in comments. You'll see a lot of source code does this so that you know what you're getting, like what the value is. You can see here, of course, in the, can just get rid of that. Here, it's defined. This is what you're doing. So here we go. Sorry about that. And this is why I like using Ninja. This happens. Is it J? Build stopped. Any key to continue. You just click any key. It goes away. Now we'll rebuild, and it's going to take less. See, it jumped right in. Now it's going to proceed. We fixed the thing, and we knew we did because I have had a few months of working on this, and it all works. So the very cool thing, which I was unsure about, is we separated the interface event to this build package, and we put the start time do something, timeout do something in private. So there can be an issue where if they can't find out about each other, we would get an issue. It would say the event bus, the do something events, we don't know what you're talking about. Stuff like that. Didn't? That's great. Again, just because I like to show it off, you build, it says there's nothing to do, so we know that we're just right up, everything's fine. And let's run. F5, run. Popping up the editor. Thanks to all of my former running, it should hopefully not take nearly as long. It's not going to have to compile 2,500 assets, or like build them, I mean. And now is the moment of truth. Let's make our entity. This is just like any other entity. We're going to call it TimeoutDoSomething. And let's hope we add component. We're going to type TimeoutDoSomething. Here it is. And it's under intensives, the category we said. This list, add component list, is, where are we at? Is appears in add component menu game. So game is the, when you're making game stuff, we see it everywhere. All of these are on the game menu. There's other parts of the system, UI and other things, that don't use this particular menu, and those are different. We'll cover those in a different thing. We made our timeout do something. It's on our timeout do something entity, and we've exposed the timeout time. So actually, if everything is fine, we'll go to console, Control-Shift-C to clear it, and we're gonna just run the game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, haha. We could do two things. This is kind of where I got confused in the tutorial. We can actually just go in activate and just say start timeout and make it run when it starts. But I already got us a step further, which is we can now make a script graph. This is so that we know all sorts of the reflection. Script, this is the behavior side of the reflection. We got to make a new script graph, so let's open that up. File, new script. We're going to click Control-Shift-Save. We're in our intensives assets, but see, because we're actually using our intensive gem, and this is a specific feature for the intensive gem, we can go to the intensives gem, go into assets, scripts, and then we'll call it start timeout helper. I don't know, we can call it whatever we want. Okay, I spelt it not bad. Real quick, we'll minimize this. We'll go here, we'll type start timeout helper, click enter. Now we know that this script will run when we're here. We have our timeout do something waiting for us. And now we can go on graph, start. This is the beginning of almost every graph. And now we can do some searching here, I think. What do we call it? Start time. Oh, graph. This got mixed up. Node palette. I was like, why don't we have? Oh my lord. Here, I'm gonna just. Oops. Oh. Okay, it really wants. Okay. All right, whatever. We want to go start timeout. Oh, we don't have an intensives subfolder here. Intensive Oh, here. Start timeout. That's pretty funny. Um, just sanity. We're gonna come out here. It built, so it's just our naming. That's too funny. You guys probably saw it in the video and okay, but we have start timeout. It's all working fine. I'm gonna click save. It's gonna have to rebuild now, but we're in the editor, so don't rebuild while you're in the editor. We're gonna start timeout. And the reason why we did the event bus is because it takes the signal of the person we want to look at, the entity that we want to look at. The method asks for the component we want to look at, and we can't do that. We can't timeout do something. Like there is no timeout do something. There's no timeout do something. So we want to use events. There's advanced stuff you can do to make it so that we could get the component and then we could pass it in and stuff, but events are meant to be signals. So in this case, we're calling it to ourselves, which is, hey, yell at yourself, and perhaps timeout do something is going to hear about it. Excuse me. Okay, so now this time for real, we're going to run. And we're going to see if timeout do something happens. Timeout do something. We ran out of time. Huzzah! It works. So we've got our component. We have events and we can do stuff with it. We can point at our component and tell it to do things because we've made an interface that outside things can point at. We've reflected the core details, we've reflected the editor details, and we've reflected programming scripting details. We have connected to a global bus. We've connected to a entity ID bus. We have put our values, our secret values in protected, but exposing them here makes it so that we can edit them even though other programs can't edit them because they're protected. And we've all done it within our gem. So within our intensives gem, everything builds successfully. We'll save. I can rebuild and it'll be a nice little one for. And this is how we begin doing component programming, functionality programming, all the C++ goodies. Our editor built. We're good to go. We can just click F5 and we'll start it again, but I won't wait for this. And we've done a little bit of events. I think I'm going to still do a tutorial to get into the guts of it because there's more to learn. But we'll stop here because we now know how to create an event component, add it to our gem. Oh, hey, it came real fast. Add it to our world, make sure that we can find it in the engine, and this is the core of everything. You can now do everything. Learn all of your programming things that you want. We can start here and you can do stuff and make things happen. So thanks for coming along. Thanks for coming to these intensives. They're so long, they're so arduous, but I hope that you learn some stuff. I hope this gets you, blazing into doing component development, and with these understandings, everything else starts being a little easier because you know why we're doing any of this at all. So thanks for coming. I'll see you around. See ya.